Ho, 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 and happy holidays to all. Guys, how you doing today? Happy holidays. So now, guys, we've been following along on the Christmas movie reviews here. We're finally here at the ending of the Christmas movie review specials here. Just like for the Halloween special reviews, I decided to talk about a special that I really enjoyed, a special that really means a lot to me, a cartoon special that mean a lot to me, that I watch all throughout growing up, almost every single year growing up. That, of course, is Ed and Eddy's Jingle Jingle Jangle Christmas Special. Now, just like with the Halloween one, this one is a big, tradition for me. This one is a show, well, at least Ed and Eddy, that you guys already know. I love Ed and Eddy. It's one of my all-time favorite shows of all time. It's something I grew up with watching. It's something I still watch to this day. I put on random episodes and watch, and it still holds up. So every year around this time, and I always save it just until about till the ending. I always save it until the ending of December, to when we're about to be there on Christmas. I always watch Ed and Eddy Jingle Jingle Jangle. And as a kid, this episode always really stood out to me amongst all the other kind of Christmas specials. This was always something that I always looked forward to. I always wanted to watch, something I always would watch on repeat during Christmas time. So now really the whole overall plot of this episode is that this episode is about how Eddy is sick of getting cheap presents for Christmas and plans to get adopted by one of the neighbors so he can attempt to take their presents. Pretty much by that plot, you can tell it's a straightforward Ed and Eddy episode. It is, and that's something I love about this episode, is that it's through and through, even though it is a Christmas special, it is still at the end of the day an Ed and Eddy episode, and that's why I love it so much. It's something I always really love in this episode, especially like right off the bat, is that I love how like right in the beginning we have Eddy trying to sneak in and try to find and sneak his presents and trying to look to see what he got for Christmas, stuff like that. Something like that is so relatable, and that's something that this episode has a lot in. This episode has a lot of relatabilities in this episode, especially that beginning shot. Even as a kid, I remember watching that, and that was the episode that gave me the idea to try to look for my parents' Christmas presents and try to sneak in. And the way how Eddy kind of like slips up the tape and kind of shows you how to like get the presents without making it look like you opened it. And I tried that too when I was little. I tried to do all of that stuff. So relatable, because when you're a kid, it's just the anticipation like leading up to like, oh, what am I getting for Christmas? Oh, what's for Christmas? And then when your parents aren't around, did you know where their hiding spot is? Because I feel like all of us know that's something, again, so relatable, that all of us knows that we all know where our parents' hiding spot was, and we would always go try to sneak in and try to find it. And when we would find and see what we got, we'd always probably be disappointed, be like, that's not what we want. I will say that I actually personally do like getting codes for Christmas. I actually like it a lot, and I stand by that. But, classic Eddy, he gets really pissed off about all that, and then gets really angry, and ends up going out to Ed's house. That's something, too, is, like, I love how we end up seeing where Ed's house at, and we see all the decorations on his house, how he has Santa's sleigh right here, like, stops right here. Then Ed takes a chimney and kind of, like, carries it all the way through the house, puts it right in his room, and I love how he gets also set up for Ed, for Santa Claus and stuff like that. Just stuff like that really reminds me, again, when I was really little, and I still do it now, which you can see right here, but I used to decorate like my whole room and stuff like that, and I get so excited for decorating for Santa Claus and everything like that, and for Christmas, and I always liked that a lot, and that scene always made me smile a lot. I love Ed. Ed is the most relatable, I feel like, out of all the Eds. Ed is my guy. And that's something, too, that I gotta say that I really like about this episode, same thing with the Halloween episode, is that the atmosphere that they caught in this is just so perfect to me. It gives off the perfect Christmas feeling in this. Is when you're looking outside at the cul-de-sac during wintertime with the snow and ice everywhere, you got the Christmas lights, and then you also have the music playing in the background with the snow falling, and you just see the sky. To me, it just makes you want to sit by a warm fireplace, have some hot cocoa, and just watch this Christmas movie, just spend time on Christmas, and it puts you in that really good Christmas feeling, and I just love the overall atmosphere of this episode. I love too how the Eds have very distinctive, not even just the Eds too, like everyone in the cul-de-sac has their own distinctive kind of versions of the holiday, their own kind of their interpretation of how they spend holidays and how they spend the holidays and everything. And I like that a lot because that's, again, is something very real and something that's very growing up. You know, I had a whole bunch of friends that, you know, celebrate sometimes Hanukkah and a whole bunch of other different kind of holidays, well, just like Christmas, but, you know, they have different traditions. And I like how we've seen that, like, in this kind of thing, especially with the Eds, like how we see how the Eds celebrate Christmas. How Ed, he more is like, he just loves Santa Claus and he believes in the spirit of Santa Claus, and then waking up in the morning, getting Christmas from Santa Claus and leaving milk and cookies out. He believes in the whole mystical tradition part of Christmas, which is so wholesome to me and so amazing. Reminds me again of me when I was little. That was how I felt when I was very little and still believed in Santa Claus and all that. And you go to Double D, who has the more realistic feeling of Christmas. He feels that, you know, Christmas comes from your heart, comes from within. It's the feeling that you feel, it's the joy and the positivity and love that you spread throughout the world, and just the overall vibe that you give off in the world. That is what Christmas is about. You know, he gives a very realistic, real feeling of Christmas and truly what it is to feel about Christmas, and that is very relatable to someone like Double D. And you have Eddie, who is basically thinks that Christmas is about getting all what he wants and being spoiled and getting exactly what he wants for Christmas. That's what Eddie thinks Christmas is about, which, again, is perfect for the character of Eddie. And that it just works so perfectly how they all kind of view Christmas in their own kind of ways that you would think, like, yeah, this makes sense for their personality. And that's why, too, I think some of my favorite scenes in this episode is when Eddie goes to, like, Ralph's and Johnny's house, how they kind of we see how Ralph and Johnny celebrate Christmas, and I really like it. Those are my two favorite because they give the most distinctive and most, like, yes, that's how Johnny has his whole, it's kind of weird to think, too, that Johnny's parents would actually do this, too, but I guess it makes sense because they're the ones who gave birth to Johnny. So, yeah, I like how Johnny's house they completely filled it with ice and snow, and that is Johnny's Christmas, that everything's all ice and snow, and of course, Plink is the one that realizes that Eddie is just using for scams, and then zoots Eddie off in there, and I just really like that. I like how they showed that with Johnny's, like, it's over the top, most weirdest, most like, what? And that fit Johnny. Ralph has this weird foreign, like, you know, belief in Christmas where he hangs up meat on the walls and he sings this weird song that is very catchy, and I love it. Love that. I love Ralph in here. Ralph is so cool. So what I'm trying to get at here is that everything fits their personalities. Everything that goes on in this episode, all their traditions, all their ways, just fits all these characters' personalities, and it makes it so fun and enjoyable to watch during Christmas time. Something, too, that I just really love and really appreciate about this episode that stands out, I feel like, out of all the Christmas episodes of all the cartoons that I would watch, is that this story, at least, is a very original story. It's not necessarily taking, you know, stuff from other Christmas stories that already been told in the past and remaking it. Yes, it does take a little bit of quips, like with Ed and Double D trying to get Eddie to believe in Christmas again and learn him the true meaning of Christmas. It takes a little bit of a Christmas Carol from that. But that's not the overall story. Eddie trying to get adopted for Christmas so he can steal people's presents. That's never really happened before. As crappy as that sounds, it never really has happened before, and I like that. I like how it's giving us something fresh, something different, something that's not trying to copy off other Christmas stuff, which you pretty much see every other Christmas special do. I really appreciate that too, that they don't just make a Christmas episode, they actually try to make a story, a real original story out of the Christmas setting, and that is perfect to me. I even love too at the ending of this, like, you think that Eddie actually learns, you think that he actually had a character arc and that he learns the true meaning of Christmas when he lights up the bulb. And I love that scene too. I just love the directing of the scene where there's no, like, speaking or there's none of that. There's no dialogue. It's just you're looking at Eddie, you see him all beat up, you see him, like, kind of running through the snow and all that stuff, and he puts that light bulb on. You just see even though he's doing it for the wrong reasons, you do see how sad he is, how depressed he is, and you feel sorry for him. You're getting all of this from an animation. There's no dialogue being said. It's from an animation, and they are able to get that and express that, and I just really love that and appreciate that a lot about this episode. And then at the ending, when Eddie finds out the true meaning of Christmas, and then Santa Claus comes over and lays a full thing of presents down, which, isn't that the first appearance of an adult in this movie? I think so. When he lays all the presents down, and then Eddie just takes all the kids' presents and then runs off with it. It's like, yeah, that's Eddie. That is definitely Eddie. And then the way how Ed is reacting to Santa Claus being up there too is definitely a way Ed would. I just love it. At the end of the day, really the only bad thing I can say about this whole episode is that maybe that canker, subplot that they have going on, I feel like that is just kind of like, okay, you could have taken this out, and then it kind of just hatches in at the very end, and of course the ads get abused and who knows what else by them. I don't know, I just feel like the cankers they could have just been taken out of this episode, and then this episode would have been perfectly fine. Like, you didn't need them in at all. That's pretty much maybe my only problem with this episode at all. But as a whole, guys, Ed and Eddy's Jingle Jingle Jangle is probably one of my all-time favorite Christmas specials ever because of the uniqueness and just the storytelling that they have. Is a very original story that they have going on here, and it's just the way how the writing kind of fits all the characters and all the characters right and all the character choices just fits right with the show, and it doesn't feel like just a random Christmas special for a show. It feels like an actual story, an actual episode of the Ed and Eddy show, with just the Christmas background, which works perfectly in my opinion. Guys, if you've never seen Ed and Eddy Christmas Jingle Jingle Jangle, then what are you doing? Go check that Christmas special out right now. It's about to be Christmas, so check it out right now. It is one of the best Christmas specials ever. And if you guys have seen Ed and Eddy Christmas Jingle Jingle, let me know down in the comment section below, and let me know your thoughts on the episode. I'd love to know your thoughts. As always, if you guys like this video, make sure you give it a like and subscribe to my channel. It helps out a lot all the time when you guys like this video and subscribe. It really does help this channel grow. Thank you so much for you guys' support all the time that you guys give me. I always appreciate it. Till next time, guys, Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays, you filthy animals.